Welcome back to Connor's Corner Kitchen. Today we'll be making sourdough. This is my first true attempt at making sourdough. I've tried the starter in the past and usually come out bust. For the starter I used rye, wheat, and all-purpose flour, and it seems to have worked out quite well. But remember, for any type of bread, especially sourdough, you want to be very meticulous. So make sure everything is weighed out in grams. I'm going to be using 3 different types of flour: rye, wheat, and all-purpose, just like the starter. So make sure that you have your scale and your bowl and you're weighing out all your flour. Pretty much every ingredient that you're putting into this. So you want to get about 450 grams, grand total, of your flour. And then start fluffing it up, get some air incorporated, and start to blend your flours if you're choosing to do a mixture. There will be a part 2 at a later date, so keep an eye out for that. Next, you want to get yourself a bigger bowl. You're going to need plenty of room to incorporate the flour, the starter, the water, the everything. Now, weigh out 310 grams of water. Make sure it's about room temp, And weigh out 10 grams of sea salt. Any sea salt will do. Introduce your salt to the flour. Let them all get buddy-buddy, all incorporated. And then start to add your water. After that, you want to start mixing it all together. Start forming a pretty much base dough. And this is where you get your little hands-on approach here. That way you don't have flour flying around everywhere. And start your kneading process. It'll be about 15-20 minutes worth. What you're looking for is a good elasticy dough. Something that'll stretch and not break so easily. Once you've reached that point, bust out your scale again and begin to weigh your starter. You're looking for about 150 grams of starter. This will be a sufficient amount for your dough. Now begin to add that to your dough. Scoop it all out. It will be a little sticky, mind you. So a rubber spatula will come in handy. In a large bowl, start to, lube it up with a little oil. Make sure you spread it around evenly. Get the entire bowl. That way, once it starts to rise, you won't have to deal with any of the sticking. Make sure you form a ball, nice tight ball, after you've incorporated your starter, mind you. And just place it in the center. Now, you can use a tea towel or anything to really cover it. I'm just using a shopping bag. That'll work just fine, too. And then begin to let it proof for 12 hours. This is what will bring out that sourdough taste to your bread. Now, after your 12 hours are up, take out a little bit of parchment paper and begin to flour it generously. I found that this method works pretty well. If you have a different way of doing it, then do your way. But this way, I believe, works. So, remove your dough. Without losing too much air, mind you, you want to be quite gentle with it. Now, what you want to do is, using a tucking motion, try to build a little height back into your dough. Again, being very gentle, you don't want to lose any of the air that you've gained over your proofing period. But all that extra flour will help you go ahead and start to tuck underneath there. Don't be afraid of using the flour either, You want to put a little extra on top even as well. Now once you've formed your nice, tight, high-risen ball, you want to let it sit for about an hour. Now take your Dutch oven and let that start to heat up. Get a little preheat basically in that pan going. During that time, start to cut a nice circular pattern out of your parchment paper. And don't forget to give it a score. Basically a few slices in your bread. This will tell it where exactly to start to part, open up. You can do a cool little pattern if you want, or just a simple cut. I just did a simple cut all the way around on the left side. Now bake at 410 degrees Fahrenheit. 400 will work too if you don't actually have that precise measurement. Now don't forget to spray the lid that you're putting on top of it, create a little moisture in there, and bake it for about 30 minutes, 25-30. And then after that time period, take the lid off, another 25-30 minutes, and then you'll have a beautiful crust just formed right over that sourdough. Now the biggest part is letting it cool. Make sure that you let your bread cool completely before you start slicing into it. And you see all the little beautiful air pockets in there? And that's what you're looking for. It's BONAFIDE. Please subscribe for more and wait for part 2.